for that. You know, if I would have to play note for note everything, every night, I would have to get myself a long time ago. That to me is like living, being a jukebox or snapping out Coke cans, whatever. I mean, it's not exciting, it's not challenging, and go on stage anytime on stage is best. But even if you play in front of TV, whatever, just to play stuff, and stuff comes out. Oh, cool, man, that was great, you know. And improvisation is a genesis of composition. What a lot of people don't know is that the great composers, Mozart, Bach, Vivaldi, Paganini, all of them, were improvisers. Okay, so that's how they would have cadenzas in their pieces if they were the performers themselves. But even Beethoven, and they would play improvised things. But they had to. It's like if you let tape roll one day, that's the document of it, right? And they had to write it down. They had to write something. But they did not play everything the same. Nowadays, classical musicians recite it. It's called recitals. They play to note that's on the page. But that's not what they did. And I had to learn, you know, I was very happy to actually compose a classical piece myself. And I left a lot of open spaces in there. 96 people, I'd say, wait till I was done. And it's a wonderful thing. You know, that to me, not the favorite song, nothing. It's the one that you don't. They do a improvised piece of music that comes out by itself. And every night something happens. That's exciting. Exactly. Long answer as well.
No, I agree with Yngwie, man. Some of my solos on some of my albums, I try to do like note for note or certain riffs that I know are really signature. But the rest of it, I love improvising. I love going on stage and it's kind of like dancing on the edge. You know, you don't know, taking a risk and how it's going to land. And I was always that way when I was 16 years old, man. You know, you have to sort of have this, like, you're going to go for it attitude. And even if you make a mistake, even if you fall down and something doesn't work, it's okay. You know, because that's what's the excitement about music. Song-wise, you know, I love songs, man. I love everything from the Beatles to Led Zeppelin. I mean, I just love all kinds of music. A couple of my favorites, I love All Along the Watchtower, which was written by Bob Dylan, but I could play that song literally for hours. Little Wing, I love that song. You know, there's certain songs I can just play and play and play, and it feeds my soul. And it's usually a song where it's just something that you can just build off of and add your own personality to it. But that's the stuff that I typically love.
I have another question for you guys, each one of you. Who or what actually inspired you to become a guitar player? Other than just having the love for the sound of the guitar, was there one moment or one person in any of your lives that just told you, that's what I want to do, that's what I want to learn how to do, and that's what I want to excel at, and become the masters that you become today?
I can start this one. I grew up in a family where everybody was a musician. I'm the youngest. And my older brother, my sister, my uncle, my aunt, my father, my mother, everybody. Opera singers, classical pianists, and whatever, everything. All of them. My grandpa was a jazz drummer and a jazz drummer. And when I was the little kid, I didn't like it. I wasn't interested at all. I got a violin on my 4th birthday, I got a guitar on my 5th birthday, a trumpet on my 6th birthday. And they gave me lessons and this and that, whatever. I wasn't interested at all. Then on the news, they showed Jimi Hendrix burning and smashing up his guitar. And I said, that's what I want.
That's awesome.
And I already had a guitar, so I started playing the same day, 18th September 97. I picked up the guitar. I said, I'm gonna play guitar so I can burn and smash it.
Awesome.
That's the truth.
That is awesome.
That's the initial spark.
I was 5 years old and I heard the Kiss Alive album. I did it. I heard that. It's like, all right, I think I want to put on makeup and dress well. That's what did it. That launched. I heard that energy. Just the
It's
video
fun how
games.
live albums always the best.
Yeah, for me, my sister, I have 4 sisters, and one of my sisters started dating a guy that played guitar. And he came over to the house, and we were just sitting at the kitchen table. I was like almost 14, about 13 and a half maybe, and he just had a guitar, and he was sitting at the kitchen table, and he was playing some like Allman Brothers, like Dwayne Allman, like he was real bluesy. And he was playing this guitar stuff like right that far away from me. I was mesmerized. I was mesmerized. I mean, it looked like his hand looked like a spider running up and down the neck. That's all I could think of. It looked like a spider. I was like, how could you do that? So I asked him for lessons. I said, would you teach me? And he said, well, the first thing you gotta do is get a guitar. My mom and dad had divorced. My father was living, the other side of town. I was living with my mom, obviously. And I went to see my dad for the weekend, right? Just to visit, and hang out. And I was running around the house playing, and he said, oh, get something out of the closet for me. I opened the closet door, and there was a guitar. And it was sitting in the corner, kind of like that cheap little guitar you have, right? It was sitting in the corner, and I said, Dad, whose guitar is that? Oh, so-and-so, she never plays it. You can have it. I went, oh my God, the Holy Grail, the light came out of the closet, he said, you can have it, have it, have it, have it. So I went home with this guitar, I was so excited, I brought it to Bobby, I said, Bobby, you got a guitar, you got to teach me. So he taught me some basic chords, and then my sister hated me, because every time he came to the house to try to make out with my sister and hide in the basement and kiss, I'd sneak down and be like, Bobby, you got to teach me some Gentle Hotel, dude. Come on. I know you're in there. So it was a bad thing and it was a good thing. But that's how I got started. And by the time I was in the 10th grade, I told my mother, I said, this is what I'm going to do for a living. And I'm not proud of it, but I dropped out of high school. I went back and got my GED, and I knew this was going to be my life. God gives everybody a purpose in life, right? God gives you what you're supposed to do on the earth. And I think for guitar players that are willing to sacrifice their whole life, like these guys and myself, we've given everything we have to our music and our fans and our, God gives you that gift. And it's not about being a rock star, it's not about limousines and all that, it's really not about that. It's about sharing the music and inspiring you people, and ourselves to have a better life, and we've all done some great things with our music, and that to me, that's the benefit of being a musician, the blessing of being a musician, and if every time we all got kicked down and we didn't get back up and say, we're going to keep doing this, you've got to have a tough skin to stay in this business, man. You really do. You have to be willing to just deal with anything and just keep moving forward. And, if I died tomorrow, I'd have a smile on my face. That's how it is. Awesome. I hope I don't, but... The kid in the back with the striped shirt.
Me?
You.
Oh, okay.
The good-looking guy.
What's like the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you on stage? Like, have you lived
He had to
through
point
that
to you,
whole-
huh? The most embarrassing that's happened on stage?
Yeah.
Oh, Bumblefoot, you got one?
I think which one comes to mind. I remember one time, I think it was in either Athens or Istanbul, and I had this guitar that looked like a giant foot, where you push down the vibrato bar, and the wings pop out of the sides. And taking the solo, and then at one point I'm just like, just hitting it, the wings are flapping, and making all this nasty noise and stuff. And I remember doing that, and I go to hit it, boom, and like I just see all this wood just hit my feet, and I see the wing just go. And I'm just standing there, just 10,000 people staring at me while I'm standing there just with this giant foot and the wing hanging down into a damn thing. And yeah, so that was one. Well, I think of some others and curl up in the ball, shivering. Well, if anyone else wants to go.
There's so many. It's been pretty good the last few years. I remember when I was in, I think it has a lot to do with other people as well. So it's like the singer in Alcatraz, for instance. He was interesting fellow. And he did a TV show. LA, Good Night LA or something. And live. And back in the day, he used to go and play live. And the day before I cut my finger, and I was super huge, that's so cool. And he had a few, knocked back a few before we went on. And he fell inside, he fell into the smoke of the stage smoke, and he couldn't find his mic. So he was going around on the slide thing. I said, what are we gonna do? So I had to kind of like play the vocals out of the own guitar, But I'm sure there's many other things that happen. Technical problems like that.
Yeah.
Wireless is like evil. But, you know, I can't think of anything. Someone's fault.
I've had a couple. I mean, I'm sure when we walk out of here, all of us are gonna remember like 30 things, but
Yeah, definitely.
I was a young musician. I was wearing pants that were way too tight. And I was rocking out on the stage. It had a little wing thing on the front, and I was just rocking out. I had no idea. I split my pants wide open. And all these girls were like in the front staring up at me, and my bass player said, "Dude, your balls are hanging out." It was not a great day.
Actually happened to me at Oakland Stadium in 1985, playing Day on the Green. If you look at all the pictures, like Mark Weiss was just here the other day, they had a gaffer tape, you know, that area. So it was, yeah.
I mean, that's like a wardrobe malfunction, right? I had one time, I was growing up playing in clubs, and I got my first like big gig. I was doing an arena, I was opening for Peter Frampton, right? And I'm standing backstage, and my tech's like, "All right, dude, you know, go." We were getting ready to hit the stage, and he said, "All right, you're on, go." And I ran out there, and my guitar wasn't plugged in. It was pretty embarrassing. So there I am standing there with the guitar, there's no cord in it, I'm going, and I'm just going like this, and everybody's looking at me, and then I point, and I'm like, I got no cord. So make sure you plug in your guitar before you go out.
You know why there's no jokes about guitar techs? Because that shit ain't funny.
Yeah.
I had a question for you today. I know that we all kind of know that, you know, Bach, Vivaldi, and Mozart, those guys have all been very influential to you, but you said earlier that improvisation is crucial in your playing. Who are maybe some jazz players that, are you influenced by jazz, or if so, who would you consider?
Very, very good question. What happened was, when I was a little kid, I started playing, basically, I don't know, they must have thought I was definitely insane. I was just a 7, 8-year-old kid. I just wouldn't stop playing. I wouldn't go to bed, I wouldn't go to school, nothing. All I would do was play guitar. And they, you know, this wasn't a very common thing around that place. Anyway, so once I got the first Deep Purple album, 1971, when I was a little kid, I learned everything. But by doing that, I realized that everything that was played on that album and all other rock and roll albums were pentatonic blues scales. And then on the guitar, pentatonic blues scales are boxes like this. And that became a little bit frustrating to me. So when I got into other like prog rock, like Genesis and stuff like this, and then eventually Bach, I started listening to that, listened to it so much, and I played along with it so much, that my way of improvising is hardwired Baroque classical notation. That's how I improvise. So when I improvise on guitar, it's pedal notes, it's diminished, it's harmonic minors. It's not like, well, that sounds figured out, because it does sound figured out, but it is not. It's completely off the top. So I think from kind of like revolting a little bit against the blues scale, I became so infatuated with the classical way, the Baroque classical way of thinking, counterpoints and pedal notes, all this stuff. That's the only way I want to think. So that's how you, when you improv, it's A minor, it goes A minor, you just don't play a pentatonic scale, you play sharp 7 or whatever. And so no, and jazz, no. Because to me jazz sounds like, no offense to anybody, but to me jazz sounds like you take a picture like a jigsaw puzzle, and you just go like this. Throw all the bits of it, it's no organization whatsoever. 5 guys playing, each one's playing their own song. They're all playing good, but they're playing different songs, you know, at the same time. I never got into that. I'm very structured, you know, very, Johann Sebastian Bach, you know, is like my God, you know. And it's mathematical and so forth and so on. But when I play it as an improvisational thing, or like trying to compose and stuff, it's not like I'm trying to, it just happens by itself in that way. Simply because I was tired of the pentatonic scales. And that's what happened. And the jazz is great, you know, play chromatic and scream, you know. Any note will do. Doesn't matter. I can't do it like that. You know? You know what I'm saying?
Got it.
Thank you.
That was great. That was great. It's pretty true. It is true. He's absolutely right. That's how jazz is, right? It's like
Play anything.
play anything you want as long as you land on the right note eventually, right?
Hey, it's 12 notes,
Yeah.
you know?
I think some of the old.
I studied jazz a little bit because Berkeley, you know, there was a jazz-oriented school, and then I went to a jazz club and there were 8 people there and 5 of them were employees. I'm done with jazz, man. There's no chicks here. There's no people. I love to entertain, man. You know, I love rock and roll because it's entertainment. You know, and I love jazz. I appreciate, you know, all those great jazz musicians, but it's such a sacrifice. You know, for no audience, no chicks, no fun, no pyro, no lights. I can't handle it. I love rock and roll.
Anybody else?
How does your practice routine differ from like when you started to maybe now? Because you play, I mean, you're on the road a